Every so often, there's a classic or current piece of artistic property that catches the attention of the IOF, identity-obsessed fan, where they don't see it as something to be entertained by, but as a tool to be used to fuel their own selfish personal desires. What is an IOF? Well, I give a full breakdown in this video here, but to be brief, it's someone only concerned with the identity or representation of a character, rather than the character or story itself. For example, the Baldur's Gate 3 actress wants Nintendo to canonize popular fan theory that Samus is a badass trans bounty hunter, or a journalist trying to present the story of Frankenstein as a queer story in 2025, or when fake fans got upset that Marvel Rivals lacked queer couples in a season centered around love. To the IOF, lore doesn't matter. Respect for the history of a franchise and character be damned. All that matters to them is how they can hijack, co-opt a character or story to force their headcanon and ideology into it. Because as I always say, activists don't curate, they only infiltrate. In the latest anime to be a target for these types is Marriage Toxin, airing this current season. One I'm really enjoying so far, about a guy named Giro who specializes in creating poisonous toxins to carry out hitman jobs, where him and his sister come from a famous family or clan who needs one of them to get married so they can continue the legacy of their family. And to prevent his sister from feeling forced to do so, he volunteers himself instead. Problem is, he's very socially awkward, unable to form any type of relationship with women without coming off as a creep or complete weirdo. So during one of his assassination jobs, his target is someone who's an expert in conning people into marriage, a marriage swindler. And seeing how his target is an expert in matchmaking, he decides not to kill her, but instead hire her to set him up with a compatible woman for him to marry. The big twist is that she's not actually a she, but a man.
It's a man, baby!
私男だし。
Marriage Toxin, I'm really having a good time watching. There's a certain charm to it where Giro is sort of like an idiot savant. He's extremely competent in this one field of his profession, acting with the utmost confidence and calmness where his experience in said field is clearly shown. Which makes it funny that when it comes to interacting with a woman, even in the slightest, it's the complete opposite. His whole demeanor changes where he's completely helpless, jittery, flustered, and a nervous wreck, like the ability to communicate with a woman is alien to him. I love the action scenes where the animation beautifully enhances them. The personality contrast between Kinosaki, his new mentor, and him keeps things fresh and funny. Like while fighting through various enemies, they practice introduction pickup lines, which I'm sure a lot of guys we can relate to.
ないわ。これが本番だったら死んでたよ。婚活の基本は相手の気持ちをとことん考え抜くこと。だから婚活のことは一旦忘れて。
Something I remember doing when getting a girl's number in high school, practicing the whole conversation in my head before talking on the phone. Also, real quick, this scene could be a Matrix reference, but I could be wrong.
もう一回練習ね。
It's funny, and I like seeing them both on screen. As Kinosaki is determined to find the perfect woman for Giro, you find yourself rooting for him when he's finally able to have a natural conversation with a woman, surprisingly charming her in his own unique way, making her blush. There's characters that specialize in unique abilities different from his own. You have the girl who can seemingly communicate with sharks and ride them, somebody who's able to manipulate water and weaponize it. The soundtrack really fits the pacing of the scenes, while at times having a dramatic ambient feel to it.
顔も知らねえ文家のやつと引き合わされて無理やりくっつけられそうになった。
I'm really having fun watching this, but I could already foresee the iOS coming out in droves to do the usual, dictate how someone else's art, stories, characters should be conducted or labeled, because to them, politics, ideology comes first, and entertainment, fun comes second, if at all, and respect for said creator comes never. Even with this example of a localizer clearly demonstrating my point, injecting their personal politics, butchering the dub compared to the sub, rather than honoring the author's work.
And then rescue Himikawa from these greedy, thieving, capitalist pig busters! のアジトに潜入し姫川を救出していただきたいのです。
For them, headcanon and personal preferences trumps whatever the creator intended, even said here with this user. Anime has this annoying issue where they will have a character who is a transgender woman in how they act, present, and move through the world, but they are still called a crossdresser or a femboy feminine man, which is exactly why I don't blame Japanese creators becoming fed up with Western quote-unquote fans. The entitlement of pushing personal ideology onto someone else's art rather than acknowledge cultural differences, why these types always screech cultural appropriation. And I think the frustration from Japanese fans is summed up in this response from a Japanese user. I don't want to become a woman. I want to be a cute version of myself. Never a woman, but a man. Foolish people who jump to calling it trans on their own. Recognize the wonderful existence of Oto Konoko. And even when the creator confirms he's a man in dialogue, that he only cross-dresses depending on the con job he's engaged in to fool his target,
お前なんで女装してんだよ。
直近のカモが男性だったから女性をかもるときは男装するよ。
the IOF will turn a blind eye to that, because to the IOF, reality is a nuisance, confirmation from the creator is a false truth, lore, actual canon is all a hindrance that just gets in the way of their own validation and affirmations. Because as I watch Marriage Toxin, I'm just having a good time following these characters through the story, but the IOF only looks to be affirmed every second of the way. And the said creator doesn't do that on command, these fake fans turn into the nastiest people, like they become possessed or something. Which is something the author of I Want the Losing Heroine to Win recently expressed her frustration with the shippers in this statement. People who read for free on pirate sites think they have control over the story. I get a lot of demands like, if you don't pair X with X, you're not a real writer. I'm thrilled to have fans overseas, that's soon to change, but for how loud they are despite reading for free, I'd really appreciate it if they just drop some cash first.
That's the way you do it. That's the way you debate.
And as I always say, the IOF feels more entitled to your story than you yourself. And it doesn't help that many platforms in charge of handling anime licensing and distribution are ran by the IOFs, like Crunchyroll, rarely ever seeing these works to be handled with care and faithful translations, but only as tools to fuel their ideology, with the dub version having Kinosaki say, "I'm not a girl," when the actual Japanese wording is Watashi Orokodashi, which translates to, "I'm a guy after all," or as this Japanese user pointed out. Why are people who aren't even into anime the ones doing the translations? In Japanese, it says, "I'm a guy," by the way, perfectly clearly. It doesn't say because I am not a girl. Besides, in today's values, not a girl doesn't necessarily mean a man, right? So are they deliberately phrasing it in a way that leaves room for gender ambiguity? And just real quick, shout out to this user. I could tell he's high IQ. He's somebody who can read between the lines, which is so hard to get people to do nowadays, but shout out to him. But real quick, as some of you may know, I've been learning how to draw little by little each day. And for this video, I decided to do a Megami sketch from JJK, my second favorite character. I wanted to do Nanami, him being my favorite character, but I think the detail required was a bit out of my skill range, especially with the steampunk glasses. And him being my favorite character, RIP, I knew I would have to do him justice first, so I'll save him for a future video. And also shout out to those who send me their sketches and tune into my live streams, and the writers who send me their characters their artists have drawn. It's a lot of talent out there, and as I always say, it's the independent creators that will carry creativity into the future. And if you as well want to begin drawing, I've tagged a sketchbook and a sketch toolkit in this video to get started with. But regardless, I always appreciate the love. Now back to the video. And this makes me proud that I'm not the only one who sees through the subtle attempts here to blur the lines, allowing ideological actors to hijack the conversation. While some like this user claim someone like me or Packer Girl, which shout out to Packer Girl for really calling this shit out on a very consistent basis, they would claim people like us are nitpicking. But this other user who responded also gets it. You're missing the point. For normal people, nothing changed, but those who changed it will claim that 100 genders exist. So telling knowing you're not one of them implies unknown from 99 of the rest. We have to judge what comes from their logic, not ours. They will keep pushing it. The reason why Crunchyroll also had the dub saying regardless of gender when it's really man or woman. As the Japanese user stated, it's almost like they're intentionally leaving the door open for the IOF to argue that the character really isn't a man or otokonoko, but really is trans. You just lack the media literacy to realize it. The IOF will go through leaps and hurdles, play mental gymnastics in every direction, all to fulfill their headcanon, which is fueled by their ideology, not their fandom. Something they did with Kiara and JJK. Check out my video on that if you're interested. Saying things like, well, Hikari said he's not into guys, which I'm still surprised they even tried to use that logic. And if you try to point out these inaccuracies and the corrupt localizations, people like this user will say, who gives a shit? Showing the divide between actual fans who care about the medium and stories being delivered from a different culture, not wanting them to be compromised by ideological zealots. Or people just call you T-phobic for pointing it out. Like this, an overreaction at best here. Like, I get the meaning, but this is just to indirectly spread T-phobia, which Packer Girl responds well to. It wasn't intended to be T-phobic. Kinasaki isn't trans. The manga and English sub respect that shit. Well, up until episode 3, the anime respected it anyway. And this problem of the IOF is getting worse, now wanting entire stories and series to completely shift what it is at its origin, like with Gals Can't Be Kind to Otaku, about a guy who by no surprising is an otaku and two of the hottest girls in class befriend him, with one sharing a similar interest, though she tries to hide it.
オタクの喜び方なんよそれは。
私はオタクじゃないってば。
イケイケギャルと地味なオタク少年のカップル押せますね。
And the other is just fascinated with his fascination itself. And this is another one I'm really enjoying. The opening definitely stands out, but besides that, it's just a fun watch seeing someone fan out over his favorite hobbies and how his interest is admired by two baddies he assumed would never even know he's alive. But this had people reacting negatively to it, to say the least, assuming it was a Yuri from first impression and furious that a guy is the main character instead. Another effing gyaru, plain small guy. Can we at least get a gender bend or some ish? Yo, can we kill the guy and get Yuri instead? I'll be honest, I'm effing tired of gyaru's fetishization. They're not for you, lame incels. The way my face dropped when that guy came on screen. Great, more black hair self-insert slop, with this response putting that to shame. People saying main character self-insert when the author is a woman. Holy LARP fest in here. And with this user pointing out, there are already anime in current season of what they want. This season already has a Yuri anime, by the way, but obviously they wouldn't want to watch that instead. And all of this just fuels my point that the IOF suffers from extreme entitlement. Like I said before, they're like toddlers mentally stuck in the mind phase, believing every toy and thing belongs to them and demand to be catered to them in every way. The IOF can't imagine that anime serves different demographics. Like when I see an anime that isn't for me, I just move on to the next one because thankfully anime provides great variety for me to do so. But this kind of mature thinking is too much to ask for from the IOF. It's alien to them. If you're into this anime not wanting it to be Yuri, you're an incel. I guess they're calling me an incel. When really, I just like what I see and I'm enjoying it, having fun rooting for this guy along the way. But the live and let live way of thinking is foreign to the IOF. These types are the same to screech about cultural appropriation, yet are more guilty of it practicing it than any person they accuse. The term otokonoko for them is what they want it to be, going through massive mental gymnastics to justify injecting their ideology into that term. And if Japanese people correct them, the IOF just accuses them of being T-phobic, a tactic that thankfully even Japanese fans are becoming aware of, no longer caving into such labels being thrown out, and now realizing it's just a way to guilt trip you into bending the knee. And it's how Japanese media is becoming hijacked by these activists who are disguised as fans, but with this Japanese user summing it up well. Treating the wonderful work created by the author as a propaganda medium for their own politically motivated claims, taking advantage of the privilege of being translators. Something like this wouldn't be welcomed in Japan either. It feels like the work is being appropriated for personal use, leaving me with a lingering unease and a sense of indignation. But that's all I have for this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Of course, it'll be those that'll say all of this is just nitpicking. Who cares if that doesn't mean this? What difference will it make? And it's funny because I think people forget anime comes from Japan. What they're watching originates in Japan. And there's cultural significance ingrained with it. And if this is allowed by localizers, streaming platforms, identity-obsessed narcissistic fans who make everything about them refusing to show respect, it's inevitable that cultural rot will take place slowly but surely, erasing the essence of what makes something culturally defined, and that's something fans should always consider. Also, if you want to support the content I create, consider joining my channel and becoming a member. It's much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Free think. Peace.